Hello and a very warm welcome to you all. I'm Vikas Nangia with Focus Live Season 4. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today on the program is a special guest who's on a mission to raise awareness for organ donation. He's someone who really walks the talk. How? We'll discover that in tonight's episode of Focus Live. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest on the program is the Managing Trustee of Gift of Life Adventure Foundation, Anil Srivatsa. Anil, thank you so very much for joining us on Focus Live Season 4.
Well, thank you for having me back here. Every time I come here with a new story.
Absolutely. And you know what? All those stories, all the work that you put in action is very, very motivational, very, very inspirational. It takes, tremendous commitment from an individual, the kind of work that you do. I want to bring to the attention of our viewers in Focus Live Season 1 and Season 2, we kind of learn from Anil the kind of work he's doing through Gift of Life Adventure Foundation, interacting with people, educating people, doing some outreach work for organ donation. For many of those viewers who are actually watching Anil Srivatsa for the first time on Focus Live, as we are in Season 4 now, Anil, walk us through your journey so far so that we sort of lay the foundation to our conversation.
Okay, well, yeah, don't get tired saying
Not
this.
at all, not at all. As I said, each of your story is very motivational.
Yeah, and I don't tire of saying it or telling it as and when people ask for it. And that's really why I live right now. So they say, I'm not a monk who sold his Ferrari. I'm a punk who bought a caravan. And now driving the world to see if I can fight fear for love. That's really the theme of what I do. What's fear got to do with love, and what's love got to do with fear, and what's all of that got to do with organ donation? A quick story, 8 years ago when I was called upon to give my kidney to my brother, I went through every emotion that a person in my position would go through. It's not easy trying to part with something that you believe is going to hamper your own health, hamper your own lifestyle, and endanger your own life, because instinctively, as any human or any living organism in this world, the first instinct is to survive.
Right.
Right? And here you have a classical dilemma between the head and the heart. The head says, "Arey kya kar rahe ho?" The heart is saying, "Bhai pyar hai isse." So when your brother comes to you and says, "Save me," it's awkward for me, first of all, that he should even be in that position to ask me.
Right.
And I am in that position to say yes or no. Who gives me that power?
Right.
Right? Why do I have that power and no one else?
Right.
That's disconcerting. It's unnerving. It creates all kinds of tufan in your head. And it did for me. Telling him that I will give him a kidney took me 2 minutes. The heart jumped in because that's how I am. In anything I do in my work, my heart jumps in before my head. Now, once my heart jumped in, everyone gives credit to Salman Khan, right? कि जब एक बार मैंने commitment कर दिया तो मैं अपनी भी नहीं सुनता हूँ. But I've been living this life a lot before that dialogue showed up.
Right. Right.
And
that's why I said in the beginning, he's someone who really walks the talk.
So I now had to wrap my head around how to do this. I had no idea what the law says. I had no idea what the medical community said. I had no idea what previous organ donors have lived after they've done it.
And that sometimes, as I say, ignorance is bliss.
Well, ignorance in this case is not, and it is one of the major factors of why people back off, because they're not sure. Now, I looked around on the internet for stories of other kidney donors. I couldn't find any.
There was not enough information out there.
No,
8 years ago at least.
8 years ago. Now,
there is, and you've done a
Yes.
lot of work towards that.
I hope so. But then I couldn't find, then I finally asked the doctor, I said, can you make me talk to a patient of yours
Right.
that's been through this so I can get firsthand?
Absolutely.
Because only a person who's been through it can give you information that nobody else can.
Absolutely.
It's all theory before that.
Right.
And I did get to speak to somebody, and I figured, okay, I took my chances. I said, okay, let's do this. But then another law came in front of me. So yes, I passed the love test over there where the doctors dissuaded me from doing this, telling me that I had a diabetic history, that I could possibly be diabetic. And that's the first test of your love And everybody in my position goes through that because the doctor's job is to tell you the bad news.
Right, right. Bad news or the harsh news?
Well, not necessarily, because sometimes, look, the doctors have a moral obligation and responsibility to ensure that the person sitting in front of them ready to donate a kidney or a liver is not
fit.
doing it, no, is not doing it under duress, is not being pressurized by the family.
Right,
So they have found ways and means to give that person an out.
right.
And most people take the out without losing face with the relative that they were going to give it to.
Right.
Fear won there. If love had to win, they would pass that test. And I was in that test.
Right.
And they gave me a real reason for why I should be afraid. That you could be diabetic and there's a chance that your kidneys can fail.
Right.
So my only question at that point was, do I have it now? Am I fit now? And they said, you're okay now. I said, then let's do this, because I don't know what I'm going to be dying of or inflicted with in the future, or if I'm going to be at all. So why do I have to be afraid of the unknown when now I know I can have more moments with my brother
Right.
that if I hadn't done and something would have happened to him, I would have had the worst life of what was left of mine, with guilt,
Yeah.
knowing I could have saved him.
Right.
So I passed the test and I thought, yeah, Pappu pass ho gaya. And another law in India, which I hope you pay attention to, and you have a very significant role to play, and you can be saving lives sitting in America. That law is that your organs are not your right to donate. It belongs, that right to donate your organs belongs to your next of kin.
Interesting. Okay.
Unlike this country, where if I want to, nobody can stop me.
Right, because like
It's an
I'm an
individual.
organ donor. It says on my driver's license.
I'll come to that subject soon, because that's
I wanted to clarify
Also a
that, because the moment you said
that's
that,
half knowledge.
Exactly, and I'm sure it's just as me. Many of our viewers who are
Yes.
watching they must be
I have-
confused as well and intrigued. I mean, why is Anil saying like that you don't have the right of donating? When I go for getting my driver's license and it says, would you like to be an organ donor? And if I say yes, my assumption is I'm good to go ahead and do that.
well, think again. It's not as foolproof as you think.
So there are technicalities involved.
Yes, and if you can bridge that gap, that's what I'm trying to do with my journeys.
Okay.
Is to bridge the gap between your signing up on your driver's license till the last breath you breathe, what happens in between and what happens after. Nobody knows.
Okay, so let's just reiterate for the viewers who are watching this, and through this conversation with Anil, we want to pass on as much as information possible about organ donation and educate them, raise awareness at the same time, so that they could resonate with Anil's life and story and the efforts that he's putting towards this, organ donation awareness. You could understand Anil 8 years ago, when he discovered that his brother needed a kidney, it took him real hard time to make up his mind. Despite he wanted to do it, there were some challenges. That's what he's talking about, and that's what we're trying to understand. Please go ahead.
Right, so this law was something I was unaware of, which means now my wife had the right to consent to my giving my kidney to my brother. Now this is where I'm going to stop you a little bit, and this is where the classical relationship between fear and love intersect. I don't believe people don't have love within themselves. We're born with it. We're a result of it when we are born. But somewhere along the line, it takes a back seat, it takes a back burner, it just disappears somewhere deep down in the darkest places of your being. Because since we are able to understand, we are taught to be afraid of everything.
That's true.
बचपन से लेके
वो एक डर पैदा हो जाता है, और वो एक ऐसे एनवायरनमेंट में हम लोग रेज होते हैं.
और ये एनवायरनमेंट को घटाना पड़ेगा, because if you raise a society with fear, you cannot have it thrive in love.
Right.
It just won't work. And organ donation is a typical example of how fear controls love, and as a result, people we say we love pass away in front of us when we could have saved them, or even humanity for that matter. So this area of fear and love grips everybody in the family. So my wife was no exception. She said no. Again, my love was put to a test. And a lot of people use this point of the process to back out. I could have at this point told my brother, hey, listen, my wife Dipali, she's afraid to say yes, so I can't do it. And if I needed an out, I got an out. I can still maintain a relationship with my brother. Hey, देना तो चाह रहा हूँ भाई, पर क्या करूँ? भाभी नहीं मान रही. And a lot of people do that. Why? Because love lost again. Fear was so strong. What causes that fear? I'm sorry, मैं footage नहीं खा रहा हूँ. I could have given you the answer earlier. But समझने के लिए आपको ये समझना ज़रूरी है. डर कहाँ से पैदा होता है? ठीक है, हमारी परवरिश में डर है. पिछले जन्म का डर घुसा दिया जाता है हमारे जहन में, अगले जन्म का डर घुसा दिया जाता है हमारे जहन में. तो ये जो हमारी ज़िंदगी है, हम इसको नज़रअंदाज करके हम जो नहीं जानते जिसके बारे में, अगली ज़िंदगी, पिछली ज़िंदगी,
right.
उस चीज़ को लेकर हम इस ज़िंदगी को डरावना बना देते हैं. तो मेरी बीवी भी इसकी शिकार बनी. मैंने तो ठान लिया था कि भाई को तो बचाना ही है. हम दोनों में 1 साल का फ़र्क है. बड़े हुए साथ में, बहुत कुछ किए हम साथ में ही किए. और वो एक न्यूरोसर्जन भी है. रोज़ उसका पेशा है कि वो जान बचाते हैं. तो मैं उसकी जान क्यों नहीं बचाऊं? It's a good life to save other than being my brother.
Right.
I contemplated, और बीवी और मेरे बीच एक फिल्मी सीन खड़ी हो गई. दीवार फिल्म देखे हो आपने?
पर अनिल, वो फिल्मी सीन, pardon me, I'm interrupting in between, but वो फिल्मी सीन होना लाजमी है. समझो, she loves you and she's not sure about what adverse it could happen. Now, अब आप एक बात समझो कि आप अपने ब्रदर के लिए किडनी डोनेट कर रहे थे. अब देखिए, ऑर्गन डोनेशन अवेयरनेस रेस करने का तो एक मिशन बाद में बना, सिलसिला बाद में बना. इमेजिन करो, भगवान ना करे कि ऐसी परिस्थिति होती कि आपको नहीं देनी पड़ती किडनी, दीपाली के ब्रदर को या दीपाली को अपनी सिस्टर के लिए देनी पड़ती. शायद आप भी पहली दफ़ा, क्योंकि देयर इज़ अ फियर ऑफ अननोन, तो हो सकता था कि आप भी बोलते अपनी वाइफ को कि लिसन नहीं देनी है. तो ये हो सकता था ना.
हो भी सकता है, हो नहीं भी सकता है.
आपका माइंडसेट जो पॉजिटिविटी हुआ ना, ये उस वक्त उस माहौल में, उस परिस्थिति में चीज़ें बदली. That you wanted to do it for your brother who is saving lives of so many others.
तो अभी ये मैं कह रहा हूँ कि जिन्होंने अपनी ज़िंदगी को डर के चादर से ओढ़ लिया है, वो ना कहता 100%. अगर मैंने भी अपनी ज़िंदगी को डर के चादर से ओढ़ लिया होता, तो मैं भी ना कहता.
Right.
पर एज अ पर्सन मैं ऐसा नहीं हूँ. मैं प्यार को ज़्यादा अहमियत देता हूँ. तो डर मेरे से काफ़ी दूरी है.
Good.
ओके, क्योंकि डर स्ट्रांग है. डर के आगे जीत नहीं है भाई. डर के आगे प्यार है, और प्यार की जीत हमेशा होती है.
Absolutely.
है ना?
Absolutely.
तो ये नारा लगा के आप अपनी ज़िंदगी चलाइए. तो मेरी बीवी का जो निर्णय था, वो एक नेगेटिव निर्णय नहीं था. वो डर के मारे, लाइक यू सेड, बिकॉज शी केयर्ड अबाउट माई वेल बीइंग. सो मैं उससे गुस्सा नहीं हुआ. बट फिर भी हमने एक दूसरे से तलाक लेने का
ऐसी परिस्थिति आ गई थी. वाओ.
अब शादी को बचाएं या भाई को? क्योंकि अगर मैंने तलाक इसलिए, आई फाउंड दैट टू बी अ सॉल्यूशन, बिकॉज शी ओनली हैड द राइट टू डू द सिग्नेचर फॉर मी बिकॉज शी वाज माय वाइफ. इफ शी वाजंट माय वाइफ, तो ये हक नहीं है तुम्हारा.
ठीक है.
एंड आई टोल्ड हर, ये खत्म करके मैं शादी तुमसे ही वापस करूंगा. पर उसने मुझ पर भरोसा नहीं किया. नहीं, तू भाग जाएगा. ये प्लान कैंसिल हो गया. तो काफ़ी संघर्ष हुआ घर पे इस बात को लेकर उस समय. अब मैं हंस रहा हूँ, तभी कुछ और थी बात. बट अपनी बीवी के साथ गुस्सा नहीं था मैं, क्योंकि जो फियर उसमें आई थी डोनर्स में भी वही फियर है। क्या है वो फियर? अननोन, जिस चीज़ के बारे में आप नहीं जानते हो उस चीज़ से डरते हो।
राइट
फियर इज क्रिएटेड बाय एन अनआंसर्ड क्वेश्चन।
राइट
तो जिस दिन इंफॉर्मेशन मिल गया तो फियर खत्म। तो इंफॉर्मेशन मेरी बीवी को मैं दे नहीं पाया, जितना भी मैंने इस रिसर्च करके उसको ज्ञान बांटा उसके साथ, वो काम नहीं किया। इतनी घबराई हुई थी। एक तो मेरी बीवी ज़रूरत से ज़्यादा पैरानॉइड है एज अ पर्सन।
देखिए उन विपरीत परिस्थितियों में कोई भी पैरानॉइड हो सकता है।
नहीं, एज अ पर्सन शी इज एट अ हायर लेवल। ये ज़्यादा हो गया। मुद्दे की बात अब आ रही है। मानी कैसे वो? मैं मना नहीं सका, तो मैं घर छोड़ के भाग गया था हिमालय की गोद में।
अच्छा।
मैं घर छोड़ के 15 दिन वहाँ पहाड़ों में टहलने गया, अपना माइंड क्लियर करने कि करूँ क्या अभी। और मेरा भाई अभी तक डायलिसिस में नहीं गया था। ही वाज बढ़ता गया था उसके, ही वाज गोइंग टुवर्ड्स इट।
राइट।
एंड डायलिसिस पे जीना कोई जीना नहीं है यारो, उसको जिंदा रहना कहते हैं। और अपने को जिससे हम प्यार करते हैं उस स्थिति में देखना हमें बहुत दुख होता है। तो एनीवे ये सब अभी वापस लौट रहा है। सो मेरे गैर हाजिरी में मेरे बच्चे उस समय 14 और 16 साल के थे। बेटी बड़ी, बेटा छोटा। उन्होंने अपने माँ को बिठा के अपने माँ से पूछने लगे कि आप किस बात पे घबरा रहे हो, क्यों आप मना कर रहे हो अपने डैड को ये काम करने, क्योंकि वो अपने भाई से प्यार करता है, करने दो उसे। हमें यकीन है कि उन्हें कुछ नहीं होगा। इंडिया के डॉक्टर्स काफ़ी इक्विप्ड और स्किल्ड हैं।
राइट।
वर्ल्ड के नंबर 1 डॉक्टर में से होंगे। और अमेरिका में भी आप देखिए हमारे डॉक्टर्स बहुत नाम कमाए यहाँ पे, क्योंकि वो दिल से काम करते हैं। ये छोटे बच्चे समझा रहे हैं अपने माँ को, तब भी माँ नहीं मानी। तो एक गुगली फेंका मेरी बेटी ने कि माँ अगर मेरे भाई को चाहिए होता मैं दे सकती, आप मना करते मुझसे। माँ की ममता जाग उठी और बोली अरे ये तो पते की बात है, मैं ऐसा क्यों नहीं सोचा। बात बस दृष्टिकोण की है, पर्सपेक्टिव की है।
राइट।
अगर एक नया पर्सपेक्टिव आ जाए शायद निर्णय बदल जाए। और ये सब मैं देख रहा था, सीख रहा था कि हुआ कैसे।
राइट।
झट से माँ मान गई। ये दीवार वाली सीन मैं कह रहा हूँ ना, डार्लिंग तू साइन करेगी कि नहीं?
Right.
कहती है हाँ मैं साइन करूंगी, पहले उस आदमी का सिग्नेचर लेके आओ जो गारंटी देगा तू मरेगा नहीं।
राइट।
तो ऐसा हो गया था। और अब साइन करने को तैयार। जब मैं हिमालय में था जल्दी से एक फ़ोन कॉल आया जहाँ पर नेटवर्क थी, बीवी की कॉल थी, आप जल्दी आ जाओ, भाई अभी डायलिसिस पे चला गया। ही हैड हिज फर्स्ट डायलिसिस दैट टाइम। अब जल्दी से आ जाओ। ऐसे मैं आके क्या करूँगा? नहीं आपको किडनी देना है। अरे वाह, आप तो मना कर रही थी। नहीं मैं साइन करूँगी, आ जाओ। तो इट वाज, आई रश बैक, इट वाज जुलाई, आई डिड ऑल माय टेस्ट एंड इन सितंबर आई वाज रेडी एंड वी डिड द job and I gave the kidney to my brother.
Right.
Now all of this journey, now you and I are in the same industry. आप भी कितने लोगों को रोज अपने शो में सिखाते हो।
Absolutely.
हम जैसों को यहाँ बिठाकर दुनिया की सैर कराते हो, दृष्टिकोण अलग रखते हो। तो मैंने सोचा कि अगर मैं ये काम नहीं करता, और फिर से एक फिल्मी डायलॉग, मेरा पेशा बुरा मान जाती। अगर मुझे अपने पेशे ने सिखाया है कि लोगों को जागरूक कैसे करें, तो इस मुद्दे पे जरूर मुझे काम करना चाहिए।
जी। और उस मुद्दे पर अनिल काम कर भी रहे हैं समय समय पर, या यूँ कहूँ कि अधिकांश समय जो है अनिल इस और द गिफ्ट ऑफ लाइफ एडवेंचर के द्वारा जो है जागरूकता फैला रहे हैं। वक्त एक छोटे से ब्रेक का हो चला है। इस सेगमेंट में अनिल ने बताया कि किस तरह से वो जागरूक हुए, परिवार में क्या परिस्थिति थी किडनी डोनेट करने की, ऑर्गन डोनेशन करने की, और ख़ास तौर पे उनकी स्पाउस ने उस वक्त एक द्वंद्व था कि किस तरह से वो अपने आप को मेंटली स्ट्रॉन्ग करें और अपने हस्बैंड का साथ दें। वो तमाम जानकारी अनिल ने हमें दी। ब्रेक के उस पार अनिल से एक तो ये जो ट्रांसप्लांट होने का जो एक प्रोसेस था, किडनी डोनेशन का जो प्रोसेस था, उनके ब्रदर का, उनका उस वक्त जो जानकारी उनको शुरुआत में नहीं मिल रही थी, मिल गई। अब हम अनिल से ये समझेंगे ऑन द अदर साइड ऑफ द ब्रेक, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, व्हाट वाज इट लाइक गिविंग द किडनी, व्हाट वाज द ट्रीटमेंट प्रोसीजर, हाउ मेनी डेज इट टुक हिम टू रिकवर, हाउ इज द लाइफ बिन आफ्टर दैट, And more importantly, in the last 8 years, he's traveling across the globe, raising awareness for organ donation. We will understand that also, how he is doing it and what kind of feedback he's getting from many of these NGOs, non-profits. We'll understand all that from him. We'll be right back after these messages. Anil, once again, welcome to the program. So, break से पहले काफ़ी संजीदा बात हुई और जैसे जैसे आप बताते जा रहे थे तो कुछ चीज़ें ऐसी थी, कुछ ऐसे परिवारों को मैं जानता था जो वाकई हिम्मत हार गए थे और उन्होंने अपने प्रियजनों को खो दिया. तो उनको अब प्रेरणा मिलेगी यहाँ से आगे और कि एक तो ये समझ लूँ कि वो जो किडनी डोनेशन करने का जो एंटायर जो सर्जरी का जो प्रोसेस था, ट्रांसप्लांट का जो प्रोसेस था, वो क्या था, कैसी तैयारी हुई, रिकवरी कितने टाइम में हुई, आपकी सेहत कैसे रही, आपके ब्रदर की सेहत कैसे रही, बहुत से सवाल हैं.
At the end of the day, you've got to, 8 years ago, you had to match your blood group. Today, India में, actually जहाँ Manipal Hospital है, they have started doing procedures where you don't even have to match with the blood group.
They match it with what they have it in the bank?
No, it's what a family member doesn't necessarily have to match with. I could have not been matching with my brother.
Right.
We, luckily for him and me, we matched.
It matched, right.
But in today's world, if he didn't match and I still wanted to give it to him, it's possible.
So they'll find a matching donor?
No, I could give it.
Or they can still do it?
Yes, medicine
has
has
that's
come,
the advancement
medicine
now.
has come to a
great,
point.
Great.
It's not widely known or accepted, but this hospital has been doing it successfully.
Wow.
My surgeon who cut me up has been doing it successfully. So at the end of the day, it will become a success after they've achieved a number of successes, after 200 patients, for example, when they have enough data. Then they will call it a success. But they are seeing it. But when you're desperate...
So they're through the phase of clinical trials and they are now doing it successfully.
Yeah.
You don't really have to be of the same matching blood group. You could be of a different blood group, even though it's in your own family.
And the thing is,
this is interesting. I wasn't aware of that.
And not every doctor who is a transplant surgeon may back this up. There will be debate. There will be negativity saying, "Arey nahi, aisa nahi hota, ye nahi hota." It's all about each one's experience. And in India, this doctor and this hospital have been doing it. It's not one, not two. They've done about 50 plus.
Wow.
Right? So they're seeing good success. But this is good when you don't have any other choice.
Okay.
जब आदमी, meaning आदमी औरत दोनों, जिंदा रहने की चेष्टा रखते हैं, तो वो कुछ भी कर लेंगे. कत्ल तक कर लेंगे जिंदा रहने के लिए.
जी.
So in the last resort, if this is the only kidney available to you, फिर क्यों नहीं?
Go for it.
I would try it.
Yeah.
I would love for a doctor to experiment with me. At least chance तो मिले.
अनिल, आपने बिल्कुल सही बात कही. यहाँ अमेरिका में, I think it was in Washington DC when I was reading the article a few months ago. Somebody who needed the kidney so desperately, उन्होंने तो pig की kidney भी transplant हुई थी. I think
yes,
you must be.
These are all experiments in trying to, because the kidney failure rate in this world is growing exponentially.
Right.
Okay, it was something that only old people would get. Today, even 17-year-olds and 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds are getting because of the lifestyle and the things they eat and the things that are in the food they eat. So this is something that one has to be prepared for, if at all, in your family or your community. Now, the process of doing the testing and all of that was done. The procedure itself is about 4 or 5 hours long, if everything goes well. My brother was here, I was here, and my kidney was taken out and given to him at the same time, right? And there are dramatic ways of doing it because sometimes kidneys are flown across the country when the donor is in Seattle and the recipient is in Florida.
Right.
And there's dramatic video footage of the two planes crossing each other. And that's heartwarming. That's just drama, right? And I was done. I did what I had to do. My first thing when I woke up from the anesthesia and the grogginess of that, I could see my brother across me.
What a moment it must be, man.
And I couldn't talk, nor could he. We just saw each other, and I asked him. Basically, this meant susu aa raha hai ki nahi, because that's your first test of a successful transplant.
Yeah.
And he did this back, and then I went back into slumber.
Right.
Because at least khaya piya kuch nahi, glass bhi tota nahi.
Well,
Right? So because
I know at the moment you have smile, but I'm sure at that moment you must be having
I was in pain.
tears. You must be having pain, and there must be tears of joy.
Well, yeah.
Happiness that you did something, and you did one for your brother, and of course you became role model for the society as well.
Nahi, dekho ji, people make me sound like I'm the brother of the year. I'm not the first guy who did it, nor am I the last. Okay, let's keep things in perspective. India is number 1 in the world with living organ donations for kidney.
Oh wow, acha.
There's a lot happening there, but not enough. You know the demand, there are about 100,000 people in this country also, and more there, who are on a dialysis machine today. If we are successful as a society to come forward and save somebody in your family, because every family has a donor, but every family has a donor who's afraid or doesn't have enough love. I cannot instill love in somebody. That has to come with interpersonal relationships within the family. So there's your hint. Keep everybody happy.
Right.
Pyar se raho.
Right.
But I can instill information that can kick the fear out and let love shine.
Right. Allow me to ask now that once this was all done, you guys recovered, of course, he started his practice again, but...
He started well before I could get on my feet.
Yeah, so I was about to ask you that how much time it really took you to recover, and what was that motivating moment that you decided that, you know what, you're going to be on a mission now to raise awareness for organ donation?
Well, we had इतना बड़ा build up हुआ है तो कहानी यहाँ से शुरू होनी चाहिए ना. My brother recovered within 3 weeks, meaning, see, there's not much happening on him. They just cut him over here, put my kidney over here, stitch him up, plumbing work really.
Right.
Yeah, piping is done, chalo bhai niklo. With me, now there are 2 ways to get a kidney surgery. One is laparoscopic and the other one is open. I had the choice of both. Laparoscopic is less invasive, and opening, they cut me open. I'm going to move here from here to here. It's quite a big. Can I show it?
Yeah. Oh wow! I see the scar over there. The cut over there.
I chose this because I wasn't so sure about the laparoscopic. It was my mistrust of it. Not that the doctors were incompetent, because 80% of what's done today is laparoscopic. I chose this because I wanted it to be clean, sure, because the kidney is about this big. The laparoscopic hole is this big. It's like childbirth. So there is a little trauma of the kidney coming through a smaller hole.
Right.
Agar usme damage ho gaya to,
right.
all this would be for nothing. So I said, cut me up, pura aram se, itminan se, le dao. So I took a little longer because my pain was a little longer. It took me 2 months to be almost normal. But in those 2 months, it's not like I was bedridden. 10 days after my surgery, I started to walk and run and, you know, slowly build my life back to the active life I had before.
Right.
And yeah, after my 2nd month, I was back to running my everyday morning runs of 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers. And yeah, life was back to normal. Once in a while, I'd feel a muscle pull, but it could come from anything.
Well, that's fantastic. And what about that moment that you took the onus on yourself that I'm going to...
So now, call it serendipity. 2 things happened. While I was recovering, a friend of mine showed up to Hal Chal Puchne. He's the only friend that showed up, by the way. Huh? Nobody else came home to see me. Just this guy. Yeah. That was an interesting observation I had. So Mohan came in and he said, Anil, jaldi theek ho ja, because yahan se hum England jayenge gaadi chala ke. Till then, I had no idea that that is even possible. It wasn't even in my sphere of fantasy. Ki India se main England tak gaadi chala ke jaun. I didn't know it was even possible for me to think it. The moment he said that, I'm like, are you serious? Ye hota hai? He said, haan. He said, tu taiyar ho ja. I said, theek hai. So now I'm sitting in bed and I didn't have anything else to do. I was researching this. I'm like, are yaar, ye possible hai? So that's when wheels started moving. This was in 2014. I ended up doing it in 16, so it took me 2 years to get to that point. But 6 months after my surgery, I had happened to win a online contest run by the Active Holiday Company. And I won 2 tickets, flight and the package included hotels, everything, of a self-guided cycling expedition in Spain. So I said, okay, 6 months, it was going to expire in March, so that was exact 6 months after the surgery. And the doctors cleared my brother saying, okay, till 6 months, be careful. So then I thought about it, I said, okay, let me just take him with me. Let's go cycling in Spain, and let's show the world that 6 months later, we can do one of the hardest things that a body can do is cycling in the mountains.
Right.
And we did, and we went. It was a week in the Andalusian mountains, and we did it for organ donation awareness. And that's when everything started falling in place. I said, if I can instill enough information in people to not let fear win, maybe we can save more lives. Maybe another brother, mother, sister, auntie, uncle, friend can live. And that's where that whole thing began. So that was my first expedition.
Wow. Anil, it's time for us to take another break, and on the other side of the break, you've taken several trips thereafter, and have interacted with several individuals, several community leaders in different parts of the world. You've collaborated with a lot of NGOs. We want you to discuss and share that with our viewers. And also, before I really get into the break, I also want to ask you, you see, to put such a foot forward and to do all the kind of work that you're doing now, raising awareness for organ donation, what considerably you need is to have your heart, mind, and soul in sync with all these things together. And then having support of the family to do it. Because ek taraf se to chalo aapne jo karna tha, your wife could have even said, now what? Like, you've done it for your brother, now you're taking the mission for the world. Exactly. She could have said that, listen, you have a professional career. Many of those individuals who would recognize this person, he although was always behind the scene. Anil Ki Awaaz, a popular radio show in America, that's what Anil was known in America for. But then he took other professional endeavors back home in India. He was, one of the key heads. You were the CEO of Preeti Zinta's team, Kings 11 Punjab. I mean, he was a COO for the radio station back home, India Today. What an amazing career he had, but he took sort of a detour from all that and wanted to do, raise awareness. So let me just get the answer for having mind, body, and soul in sync, and the support for from the family.
My vehicles have to be ready, and by the time this show airs, I'd be on the road. I have 3 people that are making it possible. 3 people I've never known. Of course, no, one I've known, Raj Auto from Raj Auto. Because my vehicles are my home. It has to keep me safe.
Right.
And I cannot ignore it. I can't just pick up a car and just get going. I've got to make sure that it keeps me safe. It gets me where I need to go so I'm successful in the mission that I've started. There is this guy called Yogesh Bhai. 60-plus-year-old man born in Kenya, lived in England, was a truck mechanic over there, and is now a truck supervisor in a truck shop here. I met him by Sanjog through another person who reached out to me on Facebook, Ajay. And he told me about Yogesh Bhai because I have a big truck from England. It's a military truck that I drive. And it's a 1995 truck which needs a lot of work. It's an old truck. And I couldn't find anybody here to help me fix it because I've shipped it to the US and I'm going to drive it in North America now. They rallied, and another guy who happens to be someone who visited my neighborhood, a Colombian immigrant, he started saying, I will help you renovate your home inside. It's an expedition overland truck.
Right.
Now, between these 3 people, they have made my departure look possible in that truck.
Wow.
Now, nobody really knows those things. I mean, this is just one example. For me to even get to this point, I could do a whole series, a docudrama on the kindness of people that allowed me to do this call them.
Which you should.
At
I'm
some
sure
point.
you must be documenting a
It is.
few of these
I
in the
have a
audio
YouTube-
video format.
I have a
and,
YouTube channel that's
which people
active,
can
yeah.
follow. Yeah, this is interesting. I've got some questions to this answer of mine, but it's time for me to take a quick short break over here. On the other side of the break, I'd like you to continue with this preparation process of yours, because I'm now curious about the kind of vehicle you drive. Really, how do you get onto the road? This time around, you're driving 56,000 kilometer. You've driven from Bangalore to Kashmir, and then from here you go on to different.
Correct. In this journey. This journey is called Drive to the World Transplant Games 2023.
Right. So we'll talk about that on the other side of the break. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back. You're watching Focus Live Season 4, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm having some interesting conversation with Anil Srivatsa, the Managing Trustee of Gift of Life Adventure Foundation. Anil, once again, welcome to the program. You were sharing some interesting facts prior to the break when I asked you the question about logistics and also, the answer was layered with various things, the kind of support that you're getting from the community over here, even back home in India. Also your own mental and physical health. When I asked you the thing about mind, body, soul, being in sync, support from the family. So I think, you were expressing your emotions. A few things got mixed up over there. But yeah, now that the interesting part is
you're
started.
basically telling me I digress. Okay.
No. Listen. But the fact here is, I want to now that we've moved on to the other vehicle in which you're going to be traveling.
Okay, so very quickly, let me put this in context. So I chose to drive around the world and do lectures along the way to reach 1 million potential donors. So I call it the Million Donor Project. And TV shows don't count. TV shows give me the credibility or give me the opportunity to meet people I don't know on the other side of the screen who could potentially help me reach my goal. You could help me organize talks in your neighborhood, in the US. Give me enough notice, I will come there and do it. In your Diwali melas, in your other functions, give me 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because that would be the best thing you would do to save humanity, save lives. Okay, so what I do is I drive around the world, and I've driven 44 countries so far for the last 7 years.
Wow.
Okay, I've reached 131,000 people. So if this is the rate I keep up, I will reach 1 million people when I'm 80 years old. I'm 54 now. So I need this to accelerate. So call me into your homes, bring your friends and family, your neighbors in there. I'll come and talk to them as well. Okay, so the vehicles, the logistics. Why am I driving? I drive because I get to reach deep communities. I can't reach them by plane. I'm driving because it creates curiosity. People run marathons. People put ice water on their heads. Right? To bring awareness to something. I've chosen to drive. Could I have climbed Mount Everest? Maybe. But there's too many people there. Too many people doing that. So even that's not a big deal. But very few desis are driving around the world. And that supposedly makes me interesting, which is why Vikas even asked me to come.
Well, what's interesting over here further is, Anil, that while you are traveling, you've traveled 44 countries. Now, it's for viewers to understand, ये सिर्फ Indians या South Asians तक ही सीमित नहीं है. अनिल का जो प्रयास है वो समस्त दुनिया भर में लोगों तक पहुंचना,
वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, लोग हैं,
राइट,
पीपल
और उनमें जागरूकता फैलाना ऑर्गन डोनेशन का, वो बहुत बड़ी बात है.
कुछ लोग ये भी हमसे कहते हैं कि यार बैंगलोर में लोग इतने नहीं है क्या, 1 मिलियन तो वहीं हो जाएगा. अगर मैं बार बार बैंगलोर में ही करता रहूंगा ना, आई बिकम पार्ट ऑफ द ब्लाइंड स्पॉट. लोग कहेंगे अगर इसी शो पे हर दूसरे महीने में आ गया तो या आप टीवी बंद कर दोगे या ये काम छोड़ के भाग जाएगा. सो इट्स नॉट easy to keep people's interest, which is why I reach new places, new people, and people are people.
Right.
But it also drums up a sense of adventure. I create content. It's a travelogue. I have experiences that I share on my YouTube channel as content. So when people come and watch that, they also get informed about organ donation. So it's got to be done so subtly because हमारी जो देसी community है ना, मौत के बारे में बात करना बहुत घबराते हैं.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
tomorrow if I said ये Royal Albert Palace में मैं एक show करने वाला हूँ, I'm going to be a speaker about organ donation. आप $2 लेके टिकट लेकर आप आइए वहाँ पर, एक भी नहीं आए. अगर मैं stand-up comic होता, तो $100 दे के आ जाते.
Right.
So I have that handicap. I have to go to people and find them, and that's the hard part. वरना ये million कब के हो जाते.
Right. Right.
So when I drive, I'm driving this leg. Quickly, I'm going to tell you. I'm driving this leg from New Jersey to Houston to the Rotary International Conference, where the Rotary International President will flag me off, because this is in partnership with Rotary. I am part of the Rotary. I'm a Rotarian. President, by the way, of the first and the only Rotary club in the world that is dedicated to organ donation. It's called Rotary Club of Organ Donation.
So there's a different, it's kind of branched out thing where you...
No, it's a club in itself.
It's a club in itself, but the focus is on organ donation.
That's it. That's the only projects we will do.
Right.
While Rotary does a lot of projects.
Oh yes, I mean, who doesn't know? Rotary does a whole lot of work and for years together, decades
This is
together.
dedicated to organ donation.
Okay.
And so we have a sort of loose partnership going with Rotary. And I'm driving from here to the convention. From the convention, I've got lectures and I've got invitations from Edmonton, Alberta. So I'm going there. In between Oklahoma, Kansas, North Dakota, South Dakota. If you're there, please tell me, I'll stop by. And then from there, I'm driving to Argentina. But before I go to Argentina, I'm coming back to Jersey.
Okay.
Changing my vehicle into a smaller, more agile vehicle, which I will then take to Argentina. Again, lectures on the way. The Rotary International President, Shekhar Mehta, he's offered to set up meetings for me in South America. And then from there, I'll ship the car to Sydney, drive across the country to Perth, doing my lectures. And in Perth, April 15th to the 25th is the World Transplant Games.
And I know you're a gold medalist as well. Previously, you won a gold medal in that category. Yeah.
Correct. If I stand up a little bit, you see Team India. I am a part of Team India. I'm an athlete for India. I represent India at the World Transplant Games. What is the World Transplant Games? It's organized by the Olympic Association. Well, it's blessed by them. Just like they do the Olympics, they do the Paralympics. Here's the World Transplant Games for recipients and donors. 60 nations participate, 3,000 athletes. The Indian team this year or next year will be the largest it has ever been. We're about 50 to 70 people who've registered.
Wow.
So please support us. We did well the last time. So please give us a little more hosla, little more encouragement. Last games in 2019 was in England, and we won 4 golds and 3 silvers in a team strength of 14 people. I'm proud to be one of those winners. My brother, who is my recipient, also won a gold, and it was for the first time in the history of the games that
the donor and the recipient, both of them were there. Oh my God. And both of them were winner.
We both won gold for our country.
What a proud moment.
For me, it was. I don't care what anyone says, but you know what?
No, of course, everybody would be appreciative of it because in many ways you've become the role model. So, of course.
No, and I didn't do this to become the role model.
Exactly,
I did
but
this. I did this to ensure that I give you the message that you can be the best athlete you want to be with one kidney, and it's okay.
Now, this trip of yours, I know it has happened in the past. In this trip of yours, who all people are accompanying you? And, that's also very important because you need somebody with you and who all people are accompanying you. And,
a lot of friends just keep saying, "Main aata hu," till I see them in the car. I don't believe it. But who I will believe, and has happened over and over again, is my wife.
Look at that. The lady of the house who was first stopping Anil to really don't go forward and don't even give kidney to your brother. Today she's the one standing next to Anil and supporting him for the work that he's doing. Fabulous.
And one of my friends who's also my lawyer, Desi girl from Rochester, New York, her husband, who happened to be an ex-Marine who was deployed in Iraq, is now an anchor, news anchor in Jamaica.
Oh, interesting.
Right, so he's finishing up his contract. He said, "Can I come with you? I want to make a documentary of this." I'm like, "Yeah, Why
Sure,
not?
why
so
not?
if he joins me, then we'll be 3, and we have room for 4. So let's see who the 4th one will be, or 3 is good. It's a small car, so.
Well, listen, I want to really wish you all the very best for this trip of yours. And before we wrap up the conversation, I'm sure there are many more things. Of course, we could have, as you said, you could make series on the whole, how things have unfolded in the last 8 years.
Yeah, the logistics itself is a story.
Exactly. And I've seen some of those videos of yours on YouTube, your interaction with people, the kind of places you're cooking in the car.
Well, yeah, see, the thing
all
is,
those things. So
the one question you didn't ask and is on many people's minds is, how do I fund all of this? I mean, it costs money, yeah? And
I was about to ask you, Anil, towards the end of it, and I said we are towards the end of wrapping the conversation,
Yeah.
but I was about to say that how do you manage all this? Because of course, this takes away so much time of yours that you're not at work. So
no,
where's
I
the
am
funding?
at work.
Even while you're traveling?
Yeah. I told you, I've been doing work from home since 2014, since my surgery. So I'm used to working from home.
Okay,
So wherever I park my car is home.
interesting.
So I run a startup even now. I have a team that's supportive. See, that's what I'm saying. The team that you work with.
That makes a lot of difference.
It makes a huge difference. Okay, they don't feel my absence because I'm there. I'm present when the things are important. I do have someone taking care of the shop. In fact, we're a post-COVID company. We don't even have an office. Everybody in the company works from home.
Right.
So yeah, I'm working. The timings keep changing because of the days, the time zones. So that happens. This also happens. But how do I fund myself? It's a good question. Of course, I have generous sponsors and I have supporters like TV Asia, taking care of some part of the other. I would love for an oil company to say, we'll sponsor your entire fuel at this moment, now in aaj ke date mein. That'll be my biggest expense. And if I get that taken care of, I really don't need money. So I'm still short $20,000+. I have a GoFundMe page. उसमें जो आता है. Please, अगर आपको मेरा काम अच्छा लगे और ज़रूरी भी आप समझे, तो support कीजिए इसको. But in my lectures, मैं भीख मांगता हूँ. So when I do lectures, I have a hundi.
And people donate over there.
I ask, and they give what they give, and I use that for gas money. That's literally what I collect is gas money.
Wow, Anil, listen, all the very best. I'm really speechless, short of words that when you said that I take my hundi or my beek mangta. No, listen, you have blessings of many individuals, the kind of work you do.
I do.
And I'm sure many who are watching this interview, I'm sure indeed there's going to be some great outcome from this conversation of ours, and you never know.
एक बार और पूछूं
हाँ,
आपके दर्शकों से.
Please, go ahead.
ये गिफ्ट ऑफ लाइफ एडवेंचर फाउंडेशन जो है, अगर मैं ये काम करता कि मैं भूखों को खाना खिलाता रोज़, मेरी हुंडियाँ भर भर के आ जाती. क्योंकि जब मैं कोविड में ये काम किया फॉर द माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स, आई गॉट फंडिंग फ्रॉम एवरीवेयर. बट ऑर्गन डोनेशन को कोई इतना मायना नहीं देते हैं. ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो है मेरा, इट्स 501c3 कंप्लाइंट. टैक्स ब्रेक्स जो आपके हैं. इफ़ यू हैव अ मैचिंग प्रोग्राम इन योर वर्क प्लेस वेयर यू हैव अ एम्प्लॉय मैच, प्लीज़ कंसिडर अस. We are listed in every database in the US. और अगर आप इंडिया में देख रहे हैं, अगर इंडिया में आपके कारोबार हैं, वहाँ भी हम ATG अप्रूव्ड हैं, तो सही काम कर रहे हैं.
सही काम कर रहे हैं, उम्दा काम कर रहे हैं, बिंदास काम कर रहे हैं. अनिल, ऑल द वेरी बेस्ट फॉर योर ट्रिप. दिल से बहुत सारी शुभकामनाएं आपको.
थैंक यू वेरी मच. और YouTube चैनल सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलिए. गिफ्ट ऑफ लाइफ एडवेंचर.
And we know the reason why the name of his organization is Gift of Life. समझ आता है ऑर्गन डोनेशन से जुड़ा. एडवेंचर तो कर ही रहे हैं जब 44 देशों में ट्रैवल कर चुके हैं और अभी ये यात्रा जारी है 56,000 किलोमीटर की.
ये कहने की जिंदगी एक एडवेंचर बन सकती है अगर तुम चाहो तो.